When pointing out another's faults, don't be too harsh. First, ask yourself whether they can bear it. Chuang Chapter 1, The Abusive Boss, A Lesson in Leadership, Empathy and Emotional Ethics. In today's corporate world, especially within hierarchical organizations, interpersonal dynamics often shape the very fabric of our work experience. While performance metrics and productivity are key, emotional intelligence and human decency define the culture we inhabit. There's an old proverb from Chuang's that provides timeless insight. When criticizing someone's fault, don't be too harsh. Consider whether they are ready to accept it. This wisdom resonates profoundly in today's American workplace, where employee well-being, mental health, and respectful leadership are increasingly emphasized. Let me take you through a real-life workplace experience that illustrates why this ancient saying still matters today and how it may transform your understanding of leadership and moral responsibility. First, an encounter with toxic authority. At my previous job, I worked under a senior manager who was approximately 10 years older than me. On paper, he was accomplished and held the respected title of executive director. However, his behavior often strayed from what we would consider ethical or emotionally intelligent leadership. His instructions were inconsistent. What he told me to do one day would contradict what he'd said the day before. When I followed his initial direction and presented results accordingly, he publicly shamed me, saying things like, "Why did you do it like that?" in front of the entire team. At social gatherings, he would pressure me into drinking alcohol, going as far as throwing his glass and shouting, "A man who can't drink can't handle real work." That moment shattered my confidence. At the time, I believed, maybe I'm just not good enough. But with reflection, I realized his behavior wasn't accidental, it was calculated. His leadership style was based on psychological domination and emotional suppression disguised as authority. Second, emotional repercussions and cultural reflection. In the United States workplace, bullying is increasingly recognized as a form of emotional abuse. While our culture encourages assertiveness and fairness, we sometimes still allow hierarchical power structures to justify toxic behavior. The executive's actions weren't just about poor communication, they reflected deeper emotional and psychological patterns. Whether intentional or unconscious, his behavior inflicted harm. His criticisms were not offered with the intent to help me grow. They were delivered without regard for my emotional capacity to receive them. This is precisely what the proverb warns against. Third, was it incompetence or intent? So, why do such people behave this way? Are they simply incompetent, or do they act with purpose? The truth often lies somewhere in between. Despite holding an executive title, this individual exhibited a complete lack of emotional regulation, empathy, coaching ability. In essence, his title did not equate to true leadership. Fourth, the psychology behind toxic leadership. From a psychological standpoint, such behavior can stem from multiple factors. A authoritarian personality disorder. This type often sees leadership not as a role to serve, but as power to dominate. Their internal logic may resemble, "Your struggle isn't my concern. What matters is how I'm perceived." They may equate empathy with weakness and suppress others to preserve their perceived dominance. B. Empathy deficit. Some individuals come from environments, military, law enforcement, or traditional hierarchical corporations, where expressing emotion is discouraged. Over time, they lose the ability or desire to perceive others' emotional states. C. Cycle of abuse. Many who abuse were once abused themselves. If this executive had been humiliated by his own superiors, he might have internalized that behavior as normal or necessary. The result? I went through worse. This is nothing. Real professionals tough it out. Such rationalizations perpetuate emotional harm. Across generations and workplaces, fifth, self-reflection, the gift of adversity. At the time, his words and actions tore down my self-esteem. I felt as if my very identity was under attack. But in hindsight, I now see that painful chapter as one of the most formative experiences of my life. Another line from Chuang explains, Adversity and difficulty are the furnace and hammer that forge greatness. If we accept their challenge, we grow. If we reject them, we deteriorate. Indeed, I grew. Sixth, the modern American workplace. Where do we go from here? Today, leadership in the U.S. is increasingly defined not by control, but by empathy, clarity, and emotional wisdom. The old adage that tough love makes strong teams is being replaced by psychological safety, open dialogue, inclusive communication. We now understand that even a single poorly phrased criticism can undermine trust and morale, while a well-timed word of support can uplift an entire team. 7 words matter. Speak with thoughtfulness. Let me leave you with some reflection questions. Are you currently being hurt by someone in a position of power? Or are you perhaps unknowingly hurting someone through your words or tone? Words are powerful tools. They can build or destroy. Before giving feedback, ask yourself, is this person ready to hear what I'm about to say? Am I speaking with the intent to help or to dominate? This is what the ancient proverb calls us to consider. 8. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is not about having a higher title. It's about understanding people's hearts. True leadership is felt, not proclaimed. Criticize others gently. First, ask if they can receive your words. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. 9. Closing thoughts, the light from the ancients. This message is not merely an ethical guideline. It is a call to restore dignity, grace, and emotional intelligence in our interactions. It applies to every leader, every team member, and every human being. If you're struggling at work or feel lost in a toxic culture, may this wisdom be your light. Speak gently, lead with empathy, grow through adversity. And if this reflection brought you a moment of insight or comfort, I invite you to like, subscribe, and set notifications for future episodes, where we'll explore more timeless lessons. Coming soon, Episode 2, How to Deal with a Toxic Boss. For deeper insights from 2,300-year-old classics, reimagined for modern life, visit Channel Code J3.